Hi, I'm Sarah Fox, writer, editor, and book coach for the Bookish Fox. I'm here with Angela Ford, the amazing writer of the Four Worlds series, and also a book marketer and does website design for authors. So she's here today to talk about her writing process and also her books and also the whole marketing for books. So thank you for being here, Angela.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here with you again. Really
I'm
awesome.
so excited. I can't get enough of Angela. She's one of my favorite clients. I love her. And she also has a branded mug to show everyone from her
Oh,
series.
yes. This is the logo for the Four Worlds series. So I have it on a mug because I need lots of coffee this morning.
We're doing it early, but it's awesome. You guys can order it on your site, right? Can people order this on your website?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you go to my website, thefourworldseries.com, and go to the shop, and you can get yourself one of these. I will be happy about it.
So can you refresh my viewers or readers' memory about what your book series is about and what's your latest one in the series?
Yeah, so I write epic fantasy along the lines of Lord of the Rings, and all those wonderful epic fantasy books, Brandon Sanderson, Jeff Wheeler, just those kinds of epic fantasy. So I always love to do like a quest-driven fantasy. So that's really what I write about. People are always traveling somewhere to do something, to accomplish something. There are lots of battles and lots of wars, but my latest one is coming out March 27th. It is the final book in the Four Worlds series. So I'm really excited about getting it done. It's called Ellesmere and the Jeweled Sword. And it kind of has like a cool purple cover with the sword swirling around it.
Your covers are beautiful, by the way. They're gorgeous.
Ew. Yeah, my designer, Lori from Hell Yes Design Studio, she does a fantastic job. Like I'll just like tell her what I'm thinking, and somehow, some way she'll like just make it happen, and I absolutely love it. So
And they're amazingly branded. So they all look the same, which is also amazing, which is probably a good tip for the viewers is stick. I think all of them now are the same designer, correct?
They are, yes. I redid my very first novel, The Five Warriors. I had her redo it because I wanted it to be more epic. I don't wanted it to really like, you look at it and you really think, wow, this is an epic fantasy. So that's what I wanted. She put the weapons on the front. So it's just really, it looks kind of like battle torn and has a little light coming through, which symbolizes the hope that there is. And it's just very warrior driven. So I love it.
So yeah, that's a good tip is maybe everyone can hire the same designer to at least keep it consistent. And yours is gorgeous, by the way. I like it because it's like, I think the word is iconic. Like there's a lot of iconography in it. It's not like you can see the people's faces, which always drives me slightly nuts as a personal reader with books, because I'm like, I don't want you messing with my imagination, especially romance books, which I occasionally read because and I have guilty pleasure, but it's always annoys me when I can see their faces on the cover. I'm like, no, guys, I just want to imagine in my head what it looks like.
Okay, that's really funny that you say that because I'm the absolute same way. Like, I don't really like people on a cover. Like, yeah, if they're in the shadows or their back is to me or can't really see them, because I really like to imagine what they look like. And so, yeah, if they're on the front cover, I feel like that bit of imagination has been taken away from me. And it's kind of a downside for me.
I agree.
So yeah, I try not to have people on my covers. There's one that my designer did, Myron, and that one has her face on it. She's kind of like doing the look up.
That's beautiful. That one's gorgeous. I endorse that one.
Yeah, she showed me two versions, one with the silhouette and one with her face, and I was like, the face is going to sell better in this case. So there are instances where it works, but overall, I try not to have the people on there because I really want the action and adventure and the magical beast. Like, hopefully I can get another one with dragons soon. That would be a lot of fun.
I love the dragon on your cover. That's amazing. And man, that one was beautiful. The blended ones. It's on my shelf back there. It's alphabetized. I can pull that instantly. But you all should look at her site. They're beautiful. And I love the mirrored one. It's so beautiful. Like her face, even it's there, it's not like full on, and it's just beautiful. And the colors, I'm obsessed. I think that's my favorite cover of yours, actually. It's so
yeah. I love that one. Yeah, that one and the blended ones. Those top two, I think.
They're really beautiful. So yes, so tell us about the next book in the series. So you've written the four, and what's the next one about?
So the final book in the series is it continues the journey of Ellesmore. So we met him in Ellesmore in the Green Stone, and he really needed to grow up. Like there was this prophecy about him. He was very reluctant about it. And he had these people come around him to really encourage him in his journey, but it just wasn't his thing. He wasn't feeling it. So in Ellesmore and the Jeweled Sword, this is when he finally gets it. And he's like, oh, you know what? I can save the world. I am this all powerful person and I have all these people on my side and I can save the world. And so he goes out with all these high hopes and he's really driven and he's going to go kill off the immortals, and then something terrible happens and he's just kind of left like he doesn't know what to think anymore. He's just kind of confused. He loses himself a little bit. There's just a lot of darkness. And, you know, at some point, I hope the readers start thinking, you know, like, whoa, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Is he going to turn? Like, what's going on with him? So that's kind of the fun part of that book. It's his journey where he gets to the point he's like, yeah, I'm the hero. And then it's like, wait, maybe not.
That's amazing. That's incredible. I have a question for you. So this is what's in front of my mind. You run also clearly, you have a business, you have a busy life, but you managed to crank out 3 books and publish, not only crank out, but publish 3 books a year, which is like superhero stats, and they're not small books. These books are over 100,000 words. How do you do it? What's your secret? Because I have a hard time with this 60,000 word book a year with like my editing business, my life. You're my hero. How do you do this?
Well, I think one of the things is it's really a time thing. So I've been writing, I started writing when I was like 12 years old, and I've been writing like on and off since. I haven't really dug into writing novels like since I was 12 years old, but that was something I did for a good 5 years. I would just had that practice of writing. And I think it's like anything, the more you practice, the easier it becomes. And so I started writing again in 2012. And I mean, it was rough because I was rewriting the first draft of The Five Warriors, and I really struggled with character development. That was my big learning curve. And I learned a lot from watching TV shows and reading books, and that really helped bring that together. But I kind of have a writing ritual now where I just sit down, and it can be for an hour or so. I don't have a ton of time to write, but I try to make the most of it. So I like to sit down and turn on my music. My music helps me set the mood. So if I'm writing an action scene, I try to have music that's going along with that. If it's a conversation, or if it's something more romantic, then I just try to have the right vibe around me so I can write that. And then I just sit down and I write. And I found that if I'm really in the flow, I can typically write about 1,000 to 2,000 words in an hour. And that really helps to get the word count up. So, I mean, I don't do that every single day, but if I do that 5 days a week, I mean, that's 10,000 words right there. So that's it just keeps moving along. But yeah, it really just is making the most of my time. And since I've been practicing so much, I try not to go back and edit when I write, because I like to read things and kind of like edit out like the things I'm like, that doesn't really go with that. I should probably change that, or I didn't like the scene after all. But that really helps, just like sitting down and writing and not going back over it until a later date. That also helps keep it fresh in my mind, and doing it every single day and trying to complete a scene when I write instead of, you know, starting a conversation and then dropping off. That kind of stops the process right there, or the creative flow. So I think as long as you sit down and you have the right atmosphere and don't judge yourself when you write, just like write it out. I think that helps a ton. Because I've definitely written chapters where I went back and I was like, you know what, this chapter doesn't work. And I never delete it. I just kind of move it down to another section of the book where it's just kind of like, you know, things that did not make it to the final book. So it's still there if I want to reference it. But it just is not there.
That's incredible. And how do you do that with like the editing and publication process? Or do you just focus solely on the promotion and the editing while you're doing that and not write other books? Are you writing other books simultaneously as you edit or publicize the book before that one?
Well, I typically try to work on one project at a time. So right now I'm finalizing Ellie's More in the Jewel Sword. I haven't even sent it off for professional editing or anything yet. Like I'm just working on my final review of it. So what I typically do is I finish writing the book and it's done. And then I might take a break from looking at it. Or if it's been, in this case, it's been like 6 months since I was on the first chapter. So I'm going back and I'm reading over it pretty quickly so I can see what the pacing is like. Because it's really hard to tell when I'm writing what the pacing is like. So I like to read it over the course of a week so I can really tell, you know, like, did I say this too much? Did I give too much away? If people are reading it, they're like, you said that like 3 times in the 3 different chapters, and we don't need this information again. So things like that. And then I'll go through line by line and try to make sure that the characters are developed enough, that they said enough in the conversations where they're talking. And especially the battle scenes. I was working on one and I was like, wow, you know, this battle scene really isn't fleshed out as much as it should be. And there are a couple like creatures that are missing that I talked about previously, and then like there was this whole thing that just disappeared out of the story and I was like, gotta bring that back in. So just little plot holes that I miss. I'll make notes about that. And that whole process I do without starting a new project. So really, I start a new project once I send the book off for professional editing. At that point, that's when a new project will start. So probably, I'm getting ready to start another book in a couple weeks.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I like, can't wait. I'm like, be patient, finish this project first, and then get on to the new one. That will be a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And how do you promote your book? So you do this professionally. So like, how do you recommend people promote their books? What's your process for that?
I try to do the least amount of work as possible. That is my secret.
That sounds like a good way to do it.
If it's going to take too much time and energy, I'm like, no, I can't do this. Like, I need to do the least amount of work possible. Well, it helps because I have built up a mailing list. And so I'm in my, is it my third or fourth year of being published. So it's a lot easier now. I don't have as much grassroots work to do. So really what I focus on is my email list and then cultivating the relationships I have in different Facebook groups where there are fans. And then I run ads. That really is my thing now, just focusing on running ads because I don't have time to do blog tours or sit down and contact book bloggers. I have done that in the past. So I have a group of book bloggers that I can contact, and there are people that are like, oh, don't forget to send me your book. So that's awesome. But things like that involve a lot of time and energy, those are things that I outsource now because I'm not going to do it. And yeah, just really focus on running ads because those just run automatically in the background. The books sell, and that's really what I'm focused on. I think if there were, like, a lot of the promotion is very goal oriented, and my goal is to sell books and make revenue. So it's kind of back and forth. Like, really the ads is the best way to do that because it's just so immediate. Like, I can run an ad and say, okay, I'm getting, 21 clicks. My cost per click is 21 cents. And,
that's amazing, by the way.
Just, anytime someone clicks on that ad, if they are buying the book, then that works out for me. That's great. And that's what I want them to do because there's all the information in the book itself where if they read it, then they can join my email list and they can read the other books in the series. And so it's just all right there together. And so I rather have people go directly to buy the book. And then if they like it, become one of my fans versus getting on my email list and then finding out about the books and then reading them and then being like, oh, I like it. Or, oh, I don't like this after all. Let me unsubscribe. Yeah, that is my process right now. Last year, it was more about growing my email list. And so that was a really big push. This year is more about running ads and reaching those readers that I don't already come into contact with.
And when you say run ads, do you mean Amazon ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads? What kind of ads are you talking about?
Yeah, so I do Amazon and Facebook. So those are the two I do. I typically set up a budget for every single month, and then I set up my ads and let them run. On Amazon, I'll run anywhere from 2 to 5 ads at one time, just because Amazon is just really they just don't spend my budget. So I can say, I'm going to spend $100 on this ad over the course of 6 weeks, and they might spend $20. And I'm like, okay, fine. And those are the product display ads. And then there's sponsored ads. They actually spend more of my budget there. But sometimes if they're not spending the entire budget, I know I need to go back and look at my keywords and do a little bit more research. So the very hands-on part of running the ads actually is the research and writing out the ad copy. But I really like it. I'm taking courses to learn more about it, and it's really fun, and I'm seeing it pay off. So far as a positive return on investment, instead of when I was floundering and doing it myself, I was like, I'm losing money here. So
what do you mean by like they're spending your budget? So can you walk us through that? Because I'm really ignorant on this. Like my lane is editing, so I don't understand this ad thing. So do you pay them and they only use part of it? Is there a reason why they wouldn't use all of it?
Yeah, Amazon is interesting. I don't really understand all of it, but they have 2 different kinds of ads you can run. One is a product display and one is a sponsored ad. So sponsored ads appear in the Amazon search engine, and then the product ads display on a product page. So if someone went to my page for The 5 Warriors and they saw that book, they would also see a bunch of other sponsored, or they see a bunch of ads on that page as well, and those are product display ads. So with Amazon, I typically run the sponsored ads, which allows me to add up to 1,000 keywords. And so if people are searching for those keywords, my book will appear in the search and they'll see it, which is fine, and that's free. Amazon doesn't charge for people to look at my book, but when they actually click on it, that's when I'll be charged. And so I can say, okay, for this month or per day, I want to spend $5. And Amazon might or might not spend those $5. Sometimes they spend the 5 and they say, you know what, you should up your budget to $10 because, you know, we're getting a lot of clicks on this and you should really spend more money so you can make the most out of your ads. Or sometimes they'll spend like $2. And I'm like, well, maybe it's the keywords and I need different keywords that are more popular that people are clicking on, or maybe I need to change my ad a little bit. So it can depend on how many times Amazon decides to show your book in the search.
Interesting.
Really interesting.
And how do you determine the keywords? Like, what does that research look like exactly?
Yeah, I actually go into, I use Google keywords for some of that, but a lot of it is just looking at the popular authors in my genre and just making a list of keywords. There are a bunch of different sites that I've used before. Merchant Words, I can type in a search term and they'll spit out a list of words that are being searched on Amazon. There are a couple other ones I can't quite remember, but then like more of the typical terms for epic fantasy, I use those too, and those will help. So really when you're compiling a list of keywords, you want to look at the popular authors or authors that are similar to your book. And you can look in the indie publishing world and in the more traditional publishing world as well. But it really helps if you have a book and you can say, my book is like this author, and that will give you a good starting point. I actually did not realize that's what I had done when I was looking at my books. I was like, oh, like it's very easy. I can say my books are like these 5 like really big authors. And then from there, I can figure out what my keywords should be. And I think the research took me maybe an hour or 2 to really compile that list and get rid of all the bad keywords or like things like fantasy. I'm like, that's not a good keyword. It's too general.
So it's a balancing act of being specific enough, but not too specific where nothing will be searched.
Yes. And it's guessing too, because you're really guessing what are people going to search for when they go online, and what do I want my book to come up, or how do I want my book to come up when people are doing their searches.
That's amazing. And you do websites as well. So do you have tips on what people should include on their author website, or what they or how it should be formatted or look like?
Yeah, thinking about the author website, I really thought about why are people going to your website in the first place? And it's not really to buy books. It's really to get more information are to join your email list. And so while books might be front and center, I think it's more effective if you're actually sending people to a retailer to buy books versus taking them to the website first. So on the author website, I recommend having, obviously you want your books to be there because you want people to be able to access them if they do choose to buy them. Or if they're looking for the next book in the series, you do want that to be available. And I actually have my books front and center on my website. Then also a way for them to easily opt in. So whether it's in the navigation, have a link for them to sign up for your email list, or if it's a pop-up or a fly-in or something like that. I'm also really big into messenger bots right now. So I have a way for them to subscribe to my bot on my website. And then they'll get little messages and Facebook Messenger from me, which is really cool. I like that. And then also have just information about you. If they are book bloggers, how they can contact you. Any podcasts you've been on, or any kind of great articles about your books or book reviews, stuff like that. Like, I think all of that is great for your about page. And then also having a shop. Like, I do love my shop. My shop sells. It's great. So I have autographed copies where people can go to get their autographed copies. And I recently expanded my shop to start shipping overseas, which
That's
is
amazing.
Yeah, it's great. The shipping is so much. So when people check out, like, they get like the huge like shipping tag, like, hey, your shipping is like pretty much as your purchase. But they're still buying it, so that's great.
That's amazing.
But yeah, those are kind of the key things I would focus on including. And don't get too bogged down in the details. I know it seems like there just has to be all this certain stuff on the page, but I also think that building websites can be something that kind of takes you away from the process of writing and publishing. And so it doesn't take me long to build websites at all. Like, it's just something I really enjoy, and I've worked at it for like years. So like now when I'm putting something together, or if I'm putting together a new landing page for a book, it's just so easy just to toss it together. And then one other thing I recommend including is links, the links to purchase your book in other countries. So right now I try to have a link for Amazon US, UK, Canada, and Australia, because those are where I get the most book sales. So I try to make sure every single page on my website has those links, and people use them and they buy them. But for some reason, I'm always like so bogged down in the US market. And I'm like, no, there are people all over the world. They want these books. So trying to make sure I'm open and available to them as well.
That's awesome. And you mentioned your mailing list a lot. What do you send to your readers from your mailing list? Like, what kind of information do you provide?
Oh, everything. That was a very vague response. So yeah, I'll send them updates on what I'm doing, what the next book is coming out. I'll ask for feedback, especially on what they want me to write next. I have all of these ideas and all of these characters whose stories I want to dig into a little bit more. So I like asking them those kinds of questions. I tell them about other fantasy books that are coming out. And really, I try to keep it to epic fantasy because that will help me with my targeting and writing the Amazon algorithm. Quite a mystery right there. What else do I tell them? I do give them a little bit of personal details as I desire. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Just really anything I can think of. I do send weekly emails, which is not something that people have to do at all, but I do like being in their inbox every single week. And I've noticed anytime I send an email out, my book sales just skyrocket.
It's amazing.
I'm like, you guys, you have been on my list. Have you just not bought the book? Like, there are always like 20 people that like run out and like grab the books real fast. And I'm like, what happened? You've been on the email list. So that's always entertaining. It cracks me up. I'm like, I'm gonna send an email and like my book sales are gonna go up today.
That's awesome. Do you have any other last tips for writers in general?
Oh, you know what? One of the big things that I noticed last year is that people get really burnt out with like the whole like writing and marketing process. And if you're not seeing like instant success, and you're not making six figures and you've been doing this for a year or two, it's not because anything is wrong with you at all. It's just because you have to be consistent. And it's just something that takes time. Like anything that's worth like really doing takes time. And so just continue to be consistent and learn and grow and read more or do whatever you need to do in order to understand your craft more and your work better. And just go for it, but really just stay consistent. Like there's nothing wrong with taking the slow and steady way to success versus overnight success. And that's one of the things with especially a lot of the Facebook groups I've been in. People will post like, you know, how much money they made the past month, which is great. And it can be really encouraging or it can be really depressing because you're like, oh, like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to get there. Or wait, no, I'm never going to get there. I'm still making like 2 pennies and I only sell 1 book a month. Like things like that can just be really just depressing. And I've noticed that the people that tend to make more money are the people that have more books out because they can reach a wider audience. And so they just have more. So just keep writing and publishing and marketing. Just keep going.
That's amazing advice because I see that too with groups. I can see how people would be discouraged if they saw someone saying, I had a 6-figure month. It was amazing. And then if there might not be at that level yet. So that's a really good tip for people because I can see how that would be super discouraging.
Oh, yes, it is. I mean, I'm not making 6 figures and I would love to be because that'd be great. I would just be in Europe all the time.
That's probably too.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, so I just have to think about things and just be like, you know what? I will get there one day.
You will. Your writing's good. You will.
Thank you.
So where can people find you? Where can they buy your books? Like, what's your website? How can people chat with you?
Yeah, so I actually have 2 websites. One is very book-centric and very fantasy-centric. So that one is the4worldseries.com. A little bit of a mouthful because I did not think about marketing at the time. So there is that one. But it's easier if you just go to angelajford.com. And you can, I mean, there's a link up there that says books, and you just click on that. It will take you to my books. But there are also services. There's my blog, just all kinds of things, my social media. There's even a little messenger bubble. So if you want to talk to me directly, just click it and it'll send me a message.
I love the feature we're in.
Oh, yes. I try to make it very easy, even though I'm not online 24/7.
Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be. That would be not living your best life if you were on 24/7.
I know. No. But yeah, it's fun. I love talking, obviously. So.
That's perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. Everyone go buy her books if you haven't started. Start with The 5 Warriors. It's amazing. And thank you again for everything, Angela.
Thank you.